Chapter 11. The Law of the Inner Circle. A leader's potential is determined by those closest to him. When we see any incredibly gifted person, it's always tempting to believe that the talent alone made him successful. To think that is to buy into a lie. Nobody does anything great alone. Leaders do not succeed alone. A leader's potential is determined by those closest to him. What makes a difference is the leader's inner circle. Unbelievable talent. Lance Armstrong is one of the most talented athletes on the planet. Because of his physical gifts, he has been called a freak of nature. His sport, cycling, is perhaps the most grueling. The Tour de France, which he has won an astounding 7 times in a row, has been compared to running 20 marathons on 20 consecutive days. Racers cover approximately 2,000 miles of often mountainous terrain in a 3-week period. On peak race days, they consume as many as 10,000 calories to provide the energy they need. Armstrong has become a legend as the conqueror of the Tour de France. Writer Michael Spector provides perspective on Armstrong's ability. 3 types of rides succeed in long stage races. Races like the Tour de France. Those who excel at climbing but are only adequate in time trials, in which a cyclist races along against the clock. Those who can win time trials but struggle in the mountains, and cyclists who are moderately good at both. Now there appears to be a 4th group, Armstrong. He has become the best climber in the world, and there is no cyclist better at time trials. Clearly, Armstrong is in a class that few others can approach. His determination, unquestionable. His training regimen is unmatched. His talent is extraordinary. Yet without a team, he would not have won a single tour title. Unbelievable team. Cycling is truly a team sport, though it may not seem that way to the casual observer. During his Tour de France run, Armstrong had an incredible team. Anchoring the team were Chris Carmichael, his coach, and Johan Brunil, an ex-cyclist who functioned as a team sports director and master tactician. Both men were indispensable, since Armstrong tended at first to follow his own less efficient training regimen and execute his own tactics, causing him to lose badly. But once those 2 inner circle members were in place, Armstrong began to maximize his gift, taking the team approach even further. Armstrong's sponsor and equipment suppliers, Trek, Nike, AMD, Bontrager, Shimano, and Oakley, were asked to work together as a group rather than merely contributing as individuals without knowing what the others were doing. It was revolutionary at the time and helped raise the entire team to a higher level. It is now standard practice in professional cycling. And then, of course, there were other cyclists who rode with him each year. In 2005, Armstrong's last year, they included José Azevedo of Portugal, Manuel Beltrán, Benjamin Noval, and José Luis Rubiera of Spain, Pavel Padmos of Czech Republic, Yaroslav Popovic of Ukraine, Paolo Savoldelli of Italy, and George Hincapie of the United States. I wanted an experienced team for Lance's last tour, and that was the determining factor, explained Brunil. Each person brought unique skills to the team. I think we have fielded our strongest team ever with this formation, said Armstrong. It has many consistent elements from years past, like the Spanish Armada, for the climbs. Strong guys like George, Pavel, and Benjamin, the Giro winner in Salvodelli, plus a guy like Popovic with a very bright future. I look forward to leading this team and attempting to give the great folks at Discovery a yellow jersey. Lance is the first to say he would never have won the Tour de France without the help of his teammates, explains the Team Discovery website. Every other rider sacrifices individual glory at the race in order to work for one rider. Lance which says a lot considering what's at stake. Yet over the years, Lance delivered every single time following the work of his team. So it goes hand in hand. If the team sacrificed itself and Lance didn't have what it took to come through in the end, we would have had to rethink the plan. Leaders have to deliver. There is no substitute for performance, but without a good team, they often don't get the opportunity. Their potential is determined by those closest to them. That is the law of the inner circle. Why you need a team. In recent years, people in the business world have rediscovered the significance of teams. In the 1980s, the buzzword in business circles was management. Then in the 1990s, the emphasis was on leadership. Now in the 21st century, the emphasis is on team leadership. Why? Because nobody does everything well. As I began teaching the laws of leadership years ago, I could tell that many people were daunted by the idea of 21 laws. I understood their feelings. I'm a great believer in making things as simple as possible. I've always contended that good communicators take something complicated and make it simple. Little Box says, "You can do what I cannot do. I can do what you cannot do. Together, we can do great things." I would have loved to compile fewer than 21 laws of leadership, but when I boil leadership down to its essence, I still see 21 things a leader must do well to lead effectively. However, at the same time, I also recognize that no single leader can do all 21 things well. That's why every leader needs a team of people. As Mother Teresa observed, "You can do what I cannot do. I can do what you cannot do. Together, we can do great things." That is the power of the law of the inner circle. Little Box, there are no Lone Ranger leaders. Think about it. If you're alone, you're not leading anybody, are you? No leader rides alone. Not everyone recognizes that those closest to you will make or break you. There are still leaders who hold up the Lone Ranger as their model for leadership. One of the best illustrators of how unrealistic that ideal of leadership really is can be found in American Spirit by Lawrence Miller. Problems are always solved in the same way. The Lone Ranger and his faithful Indian companion come riding into town. The Lone Ranger, with his mask and mysterious identity, background, and lifestyle, never becomes intimate with those whom he will help. His power is partly in his mystique. Within 10 minutes, the Lone Ranger has understood the problem, identified who the bad guys are, and has set out to catch them. He quickly outwits the bad guys, draws his gun, and has them behind bars. And then there was always the wonderful scene at the end where the helpless victims are standing in front of their ranch or in the town square marveling at how wonderful it is now that they have been saved. What baloney. That's actually not how you spell baloney, or at least the way that I know how to spell baloney, but we'll let it slide. There are no Lone Ranger leaders. Think about it. If you're alone, you're not leading anybody, are you? Leadership expert Warren Bennis was right when he maintained the leader finds greatness in the group that he or she helps the members find it in themselves. Think of any highly effective leader, and you'll find someone who surrounded himself with a strong inner circle. My friend Joseph Fisher reminded me of that as he talked about the impact of evangelist Billy Graham. His success has come as a result of a fantastic inner circle. Ruth Bell Graham, Grady Wilson, Cliff Barrows, and George Beverly Shea. They made him better than he ever would have been alone. You can see it in business, ministry, sports, and even family relationships. Those closest to you determine your level of success. Who are you drawing into your inner circle? Most people create an inner circle of people. However, they're usually not strategic in doing so. We naturally tend to surround ourselves with either people we like or people with whom we're comfortable. Few people give enough thought to how those closest to them impact their effectiveness or leadership potential. You see it all the time with certain athletes who transition to the professional ranks and entertainers who achieve success professionally. Some self-destruct and never reach their potential, and it can often be attributed to the kind of people they spend their time with. To practice the law of the inner circle, you must be intentional in your relationship building. You must give thought to the accomplishments of your mission and the success of the people who follow you. Only if you reach your potential as a leader do your people have a chance to reach their potential. As you consider whether individuals should be in your inner circle, ask yourself the following questions. If you can answer yes to these questions, then they're excellent candidates for your inner circle. Little box up here says, only if you reach your potential as a leader do your people have a chance to reach their potential. Number 1, do they have high influence with others? One key to successful leadership is the ability to influence the people who influence others. How do you do that? By drawing influencers into your inner circle. That was what I did with Jim at the church in Lancaster, Ohio, whom I wrote about in The Law of Connection. Jim was the single most influential person in the organization when I arrived. By building a relationship with Jim and taking him into my inner circle, I was doing 2 things. First, I was exerting my influence on him, sharing my values, vision, and philosophy of leadership with him. I wanted him to be a carrier of the vision to other people in the organization. Second, I was finding out what he thought. If he had questions or objections to what I wanted to do, I was able to find out about it immediately and work through it with him. And because he had so many years of experience with the people in the organization, he often helped me to navigate around potential landmines I knew nothing about. Number 2, do they bring a complementary gift to the table? Because of my leadership gifting, I naturally attract leaders, and I'm also highly attracted to leaders. It's said of great baseball hitters that when they get together with other good hitters, all they talk about is hitting. It's similar with good leaders. When they get together, they share their experiences, ask each other questions, and test ideas. But one of the best things I have done with my leadership career is to bring a few people into my inner circle who possess strengths in my areas of weakness. One of those people is Linda Eggers, my assistant. I advise young executives that their first and most important hire should be their assistant. In Linda, I have an absolute gem. She has been working with me for 20 years. She has an incredible mind for details. She is tireless and like O'Reilly from MASH. She has the ability to anticipate what I need before I realize it. What's more, she now knows me so well that she can speak to others on my behalf, knowing how I would answer questions at least 90% of the time. Number 3, do they hold a strategic position in the organization? Some people belong in their inner circle because of their importance to the organization. If you and they are not working on the same page, the entire organization is in trouble. John Hull certainly fits that description in my life. The 2 organizations he leads for me, Equip and ISS, cannot function without his leadership. Some of the most significant and effective things I'm doing are being accomplished through Equip. The organization has already trained more than 1 million leaders around the globe and is gearing up to train even more. If something were to happen at Equip that took in the wrong direction, many things in my life would come to a grinding halt. That's why I have John, who is an outstanding leader, heading up the organization, and why he remains close to me in my inner circle. Number 4, do they add value to me and to the organization? I discussed in the law of addition how people add, subtract, multiply, or divide when it comes to others. The people in your inner circle must be adders or multipliers. They should have a proven track record as assets to the organization. There's a poem by Ella Wheeler Wilcox that my mother used to recite to me when I was growing up. There are 2 kinds of people on earth today, just 2 kinds of people, no more I say. Not the good and the bad, for 'tis well understood that the good are half bad, and the bad are half good. No, the 2 kinds of people on earth I mean, are the people who lift and people who lean. There are 2 kinds of people on earth today, just 2 kinds of people, no more I say. Nor the sinner and saint, for it's well understood that good are half bad, and the bad are half good. No, the 2 kinds of people on earth I mean, are the people who lift and the people who lean. Look only for lifters for your inner circle.